What's going on, guys? This is Keegan here from Punisher's Paintball. Today we are doing an overview of how Punisher's Paintball cleans and tests our guns before turning around, posting them on our site, and selling them. If you guys like this video, make sure to subscribe and hit that like button, as well as follow us on all social media. Alright, so for today's video, we have a CS1 in, I believe, the Ice Splash anno. I'm not exactly sure who did this anno, but I know that it is one of the more unique annos that they did for the CS1. Getting into it, the first thing we look for when we open the marker case is we look to see how complete is it. You have the marker and you have the barrel system. In this case, we have a matching shaft barrel system as well as a matching Freak Ready barrel system. We have the parts kit. We have the hard bolt, and we also have the stock trigger here, as the marker has the blade trigger that you can buy aftermarket. A thing you'll notice that isn't in here, you don't have lube and you don't have Allen keys. So with every marker that we have come through the store, we always check if the lube is low, we replace it, as well as if it doesn't have any, we add some. So we throw in a new tube of Planet Eclipse lube. The other thing that we throw in, if it doesn't have Allen keys or doesn't have a complete set, we also throw in a brand new set of Planet Eclipse Allen keys. So getting into our actual cleaning and testing process, the first thing we do when we pull out a marker that has just been sent to us, we strap a tank to it and we make sure that it's not leaking off the bat and that everything works as was said to us in our trade-in. So airing it up, it is currently aired up and there are no leaks, so that's a really good sign, and we can proceed with the cleaning process. All right, so now getting into the actual cleaning process, what we do is we first tear everything down. So for the CS1, it's easy, you just slide off the front grip, and this actually has the CS2 rear grip on this marker, so it's a lot easier. It's actually toolless grips that you just push these two tabs forward and pull off the back, slide up the front, and take them off. So there we have the grips taken off already. We're gonna set those aside till later. Going from there, the next thing that I like to do, it doesn't really matter what way you do it, but I like to separate the trigger frame from the body. So we're gonna take our Planet Eclipse Allen keys and we're gonna find the right size. And then we are going to take out this screw right here in front of the front grip, as well as remove the bolt and remove the screw right here. If you can see that on camera, it's right underneath where the bolt sits. So you need to access that one from actually inside the body. Now, once we have those two out, you have to be careful because some of the first generation CS1s, they actually have a small pin that sits right here to kind of lock in and help keep in place the trigger frame to the actual body. So this one does not have that pin, as it is one of the later generations of the actual CS1, but it's always something that you have to keep in mind. So you slide apart. The nice thing about the CS1 is it doesn't have any wires going from the trigger frame to the body. It just slides off into two pieces. You don't have to be worried about tugging on anything. As you can see, the inside of this body is covered in paint, lining it with that little crease in between the body and the actual trigger frame. You can get paint in there, and it's not something that a lot of people actually pay attention to or clean on a weekly basis or that they take apart every time that they play with their marker. So we always make sure to take the trigger frame off the body and give that a nice wipe down and make it clean. So I'm going to do that right now. So I take my microfiber and make sure to get in there. If there's anything like here where you're not going to be able to get that, you can take a toothbrush and kind of lightly, not scrape it, but just rub it out of that crevice so that you can then wipe it down. So looking at it, that is the top part of the body cleaned, and there is no paint in there or anything like there was when we first received this marker. So going on to the trigger frame, we do the same thing. We make sure to give it a nice wipe down with our microfiber. You don't want to use really any other cloth, as it will scratch up the anodizing, and it's best if you don't do that. As you can see, there's a little paint there, so I'm just going to kind of rub it up to where I can get it and get in there with my microfiber. So right there, the trigger frame and body are now both clean. So the next thing we are going to do is grab the body. You can set the trigger frame aside for now, but for the CS1, it has toolless eyes, and we are going to remove both sides of the eye covers. As you can see, that's a prime example of why we take off every eye cover on any gun that we have come into the store, because they can be coated in paint. And if you're going to be buying a used gun from us, we hold ourselves to a high standard of how clean they will show up to their door. We want as close to new as we can get them. Obviously, there is some stuff like scratches in the anodizing and such that we can't really do much about, but in terms of paint and dirt, we tend not to like to leave any of that in the marker for you. Both eye covers now fully cleaned and wiped off. The eye covers are pretty simple. The eyes, depending on the gun, can actually be somewhat difficult, as you have to be careful not to snag any wires or anything. And you have to make sure on these Planet Eclipse markers that you have your detents. If I can get that. You have your detents right there that you want to make sure not to lose. You can take them out, you can wipe them down, but you have to make sure that you don't lose them. If you do lose them, though, it's okay, because your parts kit should have them in it, and you can also find them on our website. But we're going to slide that one back in, and that is the body done. Next thing I do is I put everything back together. So I'm going to slide my eye covers back in place. And there's a little paint still on there, but that's okay. So I slide my eye covers back in place, and the body is completely done and has been cleaned. You can go around it, you can wipe it off like we do. As you can see, there's a little paint. Sometimes these hinges on the feed neck are a little difficult to get, but we do our best to clean them as much as possible and not leave any paint on there for you when it will show up to your door. So that is the top of the body done. Next, we are going to move back to the trigger frame. Next thing I like to do personally is do the regulator. So for the regulator on the CS1 platform, it is right here on your ASA. This piece here actually holds the regulator inside of it. So I take my Allen keys, just got to get the right one, and I take off these 2 screws here. Now that we have both of the bolts out from the bottom of the ASA, you can slide it out. You have the bottom portion to your regulator. A spring should fall out, as well as inside you should have the regulator piston. If you grab a pair of pliers, very gently pull the piston out, and that is your regulator assembly. Now what we do for all of our used guns is we go through, we wipe everything down on the regulator, make sure that all of the parts are good, that the reg seat is intact. It's a very common thing to have go bad. Let me unscrew this. Make sure that that is good. So that is actually the screw to adjust your velocity in the marker. Take that out, wipe down the O-ring. And then we're going to take our PE lube that we threw in for this marker since it did not have any. Open it up, throw some on the tech mat, and reapply the lube to the entire regulator assembly. All right, so now that we have our regulator reassembled, we can go ahead and put the piston back in, make sure that it is facing the right way, as well as drop our spring back in and bolt everything back down. All right, guys, so now that we have our ASA and regulator put back in and everything looked good on that, the O-rings, everything checked out and didn't seem to be damaged at all, we are going to move forward to the batteries. For any used gun that we have come into our store, we always replace the batteries to make sure that it is going to come to you like new with a battery that is fully charged, that is going to last you as long as you can get. So we're gonna go ahead and, my hands are all lubey, but we are going to go ahead and pop out the AA's on this CS1. Once we have both of those popped out, we can go ahead and replace them with some new batteries from our battery drawer. So, real simple, but it goes a long way. It kind of just shows an extra step that we go through while cleaning and testing our guns. So next, we are going to move on to putting the trigger frame back onto the body. We're going to do it the same way that we took it off, placing the bolts in and tightening them down. Make sure that in between the frame pieces, you're not pinching any wires. I have seen it happen before, and it can damage the wires. So make sure that you don't have anything in that slit between the two. So we're now putting the second bolt in. Once we do that, the next thing I like to move on to is the actual IB core for this CS1. We always go through, make sure that all the bolts are good. Once again, we check all the O-rings and all of the parts inside to just make sure that it's gonna get to you shooting how it should. So we are going to take everything apart. Just like the regulator, we are going to wipe down all of the pieces, including inside of the can. So once it's all wiped down, we are gonna once again take our PE lube, put a little dab on the tech mat, and then start lubing up our bolt pieces. You don't need to use a whole lot. You don't want to use too little, but at the same time, you don't want to overdo it. So we're gonna lube. This is the soft tip that we're just gonna put back in, and then take the IV can. Make sure to get some lube on those O-rings that seal the bolt in, as well as this O-ring on the inside right there. Get a little bit more lube. And move that piece right there. After that, stick everything back together. Throw a little lube on this end O-ring here just to make sure everything seals correctly and you're not going to have any leaks. And that is the bolt complete. And I believe the last thing we do for the cleaning process is the grips. So the easiest way to do the grips is you're going to take a toothbrush and you're going to go over to a sink, run some hot water under them, and just scrub them off. All right, guys, so we are now outside. We have just finished cleaning and are about to test this marker. We have already thrown it over the chrono and it is shooting roughly 280. I will show that now. But we're shooting 5-star paint from our Nashville MSXL event over the last weekend. So let's get right into shooting this. 290, 276, 287, 285. All right, so there it is. We have now tested this marker and it is good to go. There are no leaks or anything, so let's go back inside. All right, guys, so that is the entire process that we go through whenever we get a used gun in on a trade-in. I hope you guys enjoyed, and if you are interested in trading, we do have a form online that you can fill out that you can just put down, here's the gun I have, here's the gun I want. And we will get back to you with an offer. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and if you did, make sure to subscribe and hit that like button, as well as follow us on social media. We'll see you guys in the next one.